أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وآله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. We will continue the series Jewels and Pearls of the Quran, and today the discussion will be of Juz 11. And we were going over Surah Tawbah, that how Allah highlights those disbelievers of Makkah who broke the treaties, and how Prophet ﷺ gave them 4 months to return to the truth. Uh, Allah also talks about how Prophet dealt with the hypocrites during this time, who were just waiting for any weakness of Muslims and who are happy within their heart whenever there is a harm comes to the Muslims. Allah discusses the honor that He gave to Muhajirin and Ansar in this surah. He discusses, of course, conquest of Makkah, but then he discusses the Battle of Hunain, and after that, a detailed discussion of how Prophet ﷺ prepared the army for Battle of Tabuk. And this was a difficult test for Muslims because it was a battle against a very large army in a very difficult, hot season. So many made excuses, and that's what Allah highlights now uh, in the ayah we're gonna study. Ayah 94 of Surah Tawbah, where Allah says, "Yataziruna ilaykum iza raja'tum ilayhim." They will present excuses to you when you return to them. So, on you know, so this was kind of already Allah told them that when you will return from the battle, you will hear the excuses that why we didn't go. So Allah says, don't say to them, do not offer excuses. We don't trust you because what? Because Allah already revealed those who were hypocrites and told Prophet the names of them who inside their heart were not Muslims. So Allah rebukes them in subsequent ayah. Then also, not only the people of Medina, the Muslims, but many of the desert Arabs, Arab, Allah talks about, that they are also full of disbelief and hypocrisy, and they ignore the limits of Allah. Al-Arabu ashaddu kufran wa nifaqan. They are full of disbelief and hypocrisy too. And Allah further mentions that they, in Ayah 103, that they actually, when you ask them to pay sadaqat, khuz min amwalihim sadaqatan, tutahhirukum wa tuzakkihim biha wa salli alayhim, inna salataka sakunun lahum wallahu sami'un alim. Allah says, when you ask them to get the zakat from them, they actually think that this is a fine, that you are, that we have to give a fine. But Allah says, some of them believe, so you get the zakat so they can get purified. So again, this is a lesson for us that to purify, zakat is to purify us and our wealth. So Allah encourages Prophet that many of the Bedouins, they disbelieved inside and they didn't want to, but many believed. So you encourage them to purify themselves so that their iman increases. So this is encouragement again to for us too, that we should pray salat like Allah encourages, and pay zakat so that our iman increase, just like those Bedouins iman increased. Allah also mentions again honor of Muhajirun and Ansar, and Allah called them as-sabiqun, the pioneers, the foremost people. And that's what is in this ayah, was-sabiqun al-awwaluna min al-muhajirin wal-ansari wal-ladhina tabi'uhum bi ihsanin radiyallahu anhum wardu anhu. So the pioneers, the first of the migrants, those who migrated from Makkah to Medina, and the supporters, the Ansar, who received them, welcomed them, gave them refuge. So, they are not persecuted by Kuffar of Makkah. So this was a great honor Allah gives again in this surah, and those who followed them with righteousness, Allah is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Him. So this is the ultimate success. Then Allah talks about how He's going to give them the best in paradise. Allah continues the discussion of hypocrites in subsequent ayahs. Especially, a mention is about a masjid that hypocrites built on their own, because Abdullah bin Ubay, who was the chief of hypocrites, he had enmity for Prophet ﷺ, and he wanted people to go against Prophet ﷺ. So he was trying to make his own kind of party gang in this masjid. So Allah warned Prophet ﷺ when the Prophet was returning from Tabuk. That's when these ayat came, when he was returning from Battle of Tabuk, because these hypocrites, they stayed in Medina, and this is what they were doing at that time, building a masjid. Allah warned Prophet ﷺ that when you go back, you will face this. And then Allah mentioned this Masjid Dirar, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّخَذُوا مَسْجِدَ دِرَارًا وَكُفْرًا وَتَفْرِيقًا بَيْنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. That they made this masjid to, of course, harm and to disbelieve, and also disunite the believers, so they can take many people in Medina away from belief and follow what they wanted to do. So this is something Allah warns the Prophet on his way back. And then Allah also sent, Allah says, never step in this masjid or honor this masjid. And Allah, Prophet ﷺ was commanded to send and destroy this masjid, and that's what happened. Prophet sent some Sahaba to destroy this masjid and burn it. And so this is an important lesson for us, that we should be united. In this country especially, I have seen that in many cities, first a masjid is made, and then there is a disagreement between board members or masjid members. Then they make another masjid just right next to it, and then another masjid just right next comes out of disagreement, while there are already two masajid there. That's a different reason. If one masjid is full, and now you have really a need for a second masjid, or one masjid is, like, let's say, for example, in our case, one masjid is in downtown, and it was small for our community, and then we had to make another center to fulfill the need of growing community, and also it was far from the area. So these are few valid reasons, but otherwise, in many cities there are some too many massages, especially in Muslim countries too. There's so many massages on one road, just because they didn't like what other is doing, or there are disagreements. So these are again ayat which tell us that don't our intentions is important. If that our intention is to do tafriq or divide the community, then those masajid will not have barakah. But if our intention is to uplift the name of Allah and to expand the religious teaching, then Allah will support those masajid as well. So this is an important lesson, and that's why I wanted to go through this ayah specifically about Masjid Dirar. So Allah says that these mujahideen, the fighters who were coming from Jang-e Tabuk, the Battle of Tabuk, Allah says, God has purchased for the believer their lives and their properties in exchange for paradise. Inna Allah ashtara min al-mu'minina anfusahum wa amwalahum bi anna lahumul jannah. So they fight, and then they got killed, and Allah said that in return we'll give them paradise. So a great reward is promised for those people who participated in different battles in Prophet's time. So Allah honors them as well in this ayah. So Allah continues the discussion of disbelievers, and then He says that He advises Prophet ﷺ that it is not for the Prophet and those who believe to ask forgiveness of the polytheists, the disbelievers. even if they are near relatives. And then right away he gives examples of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So, very logical, and the sequence of ayahs are amazing in the Quran when you study. And Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ اسْتِغْفَارُ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لِأَبِيهِ إِلَّا أَنْ مَوْعِدَةٍ وَعَدَهَا إِيَّاهُ فَلَمَّا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُ أَنَّهُ عَدُوٌّ لِلَّهِ تَبَرَّأَ مِنْهُ إِنَّ إِبْرَاهِيمَ لَأَوَّاهٌ حَلِيمٌ. Ibrahim al-Islam asked for forgiveness of his father only because he promised that he will do it. However, when it came clear to him that he was an enemy of God, then he did not do it. So this Allah highlights this important historical aspect recorded in the Quran. Although Ibrahim was extremely kind person, Halim, that Allah describes him, but even then Allah says that for disbelievers don't ask for forgiveness, and that's what Allah tells Prophet ﷺ too. And there is some asbab al-nuzul. If you read, some of Assyrians said that Prophet ﷺ also prayed dua for Abu Talib, and then because he was not a believer till his death. So some say that these ayahs came for that reason as well, and Allah gave example of Ibrahim alayhi salam as well. But Allah says He forgave believers. لَقَدْ تَابَ اللَّهُ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ فِي سَاعَةِ الْعُسْرَةِ. Allah has redeemed, forgiven the Prophet and the Muhajirin and the Ansar, immigrants and the supporters who were in Medina, and those who followed him in the hour of difficulty. This journey of the book specifically. So Allah says, I have forgiven them. So this is again a great honor for those people. So again, how ayahs are related for disbelievers versus believers. And Allah says, I send this Rasul specifically to you, so you get guidance. Allah says, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِمْ مَا أَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَءُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Famous ayah. There has come to you a messenger from among yourself, concerned over your suffering, anxious over you towards the believers. He's compassionate and merciful. So Allah describes Prophet ﷺ as merciful. These ayahs also came because there were three of the Muslims who stayed in Medina, but they didn't give excuse, and then Allah, Prophet ﷺ didn't pardon them till the ayat came that Allah also pardoned those three who stayed, who didn't join. That was in ayah 118. I went faster, and towards the three who were left behind. So Allah specifically sent ayat for those as well, that He has forgiven them. And then Allah tells kind of a lesson and also an honor for Prophet ﷺ, that you are merciful, you also forgive them. So Prophet ﷺ's nature of being forgiving and his mercy kept the ummah together. If he would be harsh, people wouldn't follow. So this is a lesson for us, that if we want people to listen to us, or we want to make a case for deen especially, we should be forgiving and show mercy to humans around us. And then just remember that we are Allah says repeatedly that you are just a warner, and don't worry if they turn away. فَإِن تَوَلُّوا فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. If they turn away, Allah is enough for me. There is no Allah except He. In Him I have put my trust. عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْتُ. He is the Lord of the throne, the great throne. وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. So this is how this surah ends. And then in this juz, the next surah is Surah Yunus. So Surah Yunus is Surah Tawbah we just finished was Madani Surah, one of the very last surahs which came to Prophet in the late Madani time. But Surah Yunus is a late Makki surah, and as the themes of many of the Makkan surahs are that Allah talks about Tawheed, Allah talks about prophethood, and Allah talks about the day after. So this theme continues in this surah as well. Actually, subsequent coming many surahs are Makki surah from here onwards, and they have similar themes. So Allah begins Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alif Lam Ra. Again, Huruf Muqattat, the wisdom of these letters and meanings only Allah knows. Tilka ayatul kitab al-Hakim. These are the verses of the wise book. So again, Allah calls this Quran Kitab al-Hakim. So another name for Quran, the wise book. So this is Quran is full of wisdom, and then that's how you get hidayah if you contemplate. Just reading Quran quickly, and it's good to read Arabic, finish Quran in Ramadan, but to comprehend and get the wisdom out and apply to yourself, that should be our emphasis. Quality is more important than quantity. So even if you read less, but comprehend it and get the wisdom out of it and see how it applies to each ayah applies to us in this day and age, and then that's more important than anything else. So Allah continues the amazement that how a man could become a prophet. This is of course amazement of the kuffar in Makkah, the Makkan disbelievers who were going against Prophet ﷺ for years, and they were saying he's a sorcerer, he's a poet, he makes up things and shares, or he gets information from other previous books which came to the people of book, and he shares with us, and he's calling himself prophet. Or why a book doesn't come from the sky, or why angels don't come, or why Allah doesn't show signs. So these are the discussions coming up. But Allah starts, Akana linnasi ajaban an ohayna ila rajulin minhum. Is it a wonder to the people that we inspired a man from among them? Because Allah did that before as well. And Allah then says, Allah talks about His majesty, that how He created the heaven, the earth, and then how He governs all things. Yudabbirul amr. So, and then He talks about that, Allah shows these signs for those people who reflect, but Allah questions that humans, that why you don't reflect when you know that these signs are in front of you. Because Allah says, I will have you all return to me, ilayhi marji'ukum jami'an wa'dallahi haq, and the promise of Allah is truth, that we will be returned to Him to answer what we did based on our belief and amal. Allah continues His majesty and how He created Shams, the sun, Al-Qamar, or the moon, and how we use these for number of years and calculation. So as you know, like we have calendars and clocks. So moon, lunar month, that's for calendar, and sun, day and night occurs, that's our clocks. These were the reference points for time in those times, sun and moon. Allah says, I have created this, and you use them for your time management. So this is highlighted here as well. Allah says, in this change, alternation of night and day, there are signs for people who are aware of who are God conscious. Inna fil ikhtilaf al-layli wan nahari wa ma khalaqa Allahu fis samawati wal ard li ayati liqawmin yattaqun, and all what He created in the heavens and earth, these are signs for those who are muttaqun, who have taqwa, because other people will ignore, and that's what Allah highlights. And Allah calls them musrifin, profligate, in ayah 12. And Allah describes their characteristic. وَإِذَا مَسَّ الْإِنسَانَ الضُّرُّ دَعَانَا لِجَنْبِهِ. Whenever adversity touches the human being, he prays to us. Reclining on his side, sitting, standing, he prays. But when we have relieved him from his trouble, he goes away and goes back to his the usual disbelief. So he's a transgressor. Allah calls him Muskreen. So these are again. This is how these Makkan disbelievers were. They had the concept of Allah, but this is how they behaved, and Allah highlights their nature. Same concept he repeats again in Ayah 22, where he says, "Huwallazi yusayyirukum fil barri wal bahri hatta idha kuntum fil fulki وجرين بهم بريح طيبة وفرحوا بها جاءتها ريح عاصف وجاءهم الموج من كل مكان وظنوا أنهم أحيط بهم." It is he who transports you across the land and sea, until when you are in a ship, sailing in favorable wind and rejoicing it, and raging wind arrives. The waves surge from every side, so sea storm, and they realize that they are besieged, and then they start praying to God and showing sincere devotion to Him because they feel like they are going to die. And Allah says right away that if you save us, and they say to Allah right away, if you save us from this, we will be among the appreciative, those who do shukr. لَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الشَّاكِرِينَ. But then Allah highlights this, فَلَمَّا أَنْجَاهُمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَبْغُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ بِغَيْرِ الْحَقِّ. But then, when He has saved them, they commit violation on earth, oppose all justice, oppress people, So this is their characteristic Allah describes again. But Allah says that Allah is the one who, they know that Allah is the one who is the provider. So that's why when there is a difficulty, they go towards Allah. So this is an interesting phenomenon, that they know that Allah is powerful. However, they worship their idols, make partners with Allah. So their main theory was that through the idols, they can have intercession with Allah, or their prayers will go to Allah. And then this is their major main point of their disbelief. And then the other thing was that they were using, Makkan Quraysh tribe was using this idolatry as a business, because all Arabs were coming do idol worship and visit the Kaaba, which was full of idols. So Allah highlights that. But Allah says that قُلْ مَنْ يَرْزُقُكُمْ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَمَّنْ يَمْلِكُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَمَنْ يُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ وَيُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ وَمَنْ يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ فَسَيَقُولُونَ اللَّهُ فَقُلْ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. So Allah asked these questions to these, disbelievers through Prophet ﷺ, and asked them, who provides for you from the heaven and the earth, and who controls the hearing and the sight, and who produces the living from the dead and produces the dead from the living, and who governs the order. Yudabrul Amr, this word coming again and again. And they will say Allah. So again, they say Allah, but they want to do what they want to do. So that's why Allah asked them, ask Prophet ﷺ to ask them, will you not be careful? Afala tattaqun? Would you not be God conscious then? Because that's what they were not. And they were doing all the atrocities and oppressions. But they knew that, there is Allah. But they, they hide the truth. And that's why they were called kafir. Because the definition of kufr is to hide something. And they were hiding the truth. So, Allah gives them, if you feel that this ayat, which Quran, the Quran which is given to the Prophet ﷺ is not true. Am yakulun naftarahu kul fa'atu bi suratin mislihi wad'u man istata'tum min dunillahi in kuntum sadiqin. So they were saying that he has forged these ayat, as I mentioned earlier. Allah says, Ask them, then produce a single chapter like it and call upon whomever you can apart from Allah if you are truthful. And bring all your poets who were famous at that time in Arabic literature and all your so-called scholars and writers and produce a single surah like this, and they will not be able to do this. And similar challenge came earlier in Surah Baqarah. So because Allah said, Quran is not a forged thing. This is coming from Allah, and it's not like Prophet is writing or saying these things by himself, whatever he wants to. And Allah highlights that we have sent this Prophet to you, just like وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولٌ فَإِذَا جَاءَ رَسُولُهُمْ قُضِيَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِالْقِسْطِ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Every community has a messenger. When their messenger has come, judgment will be passed between them with fairness, and they will not be wrong. So Allah indirectly sharing that with them, that to every nation messenger came. So you got the messenger too. So this is an important ayah too, to comprehend that Allah sent messengers to all nations. And then he talks about some of the messengers, including Nuh alayhi salam. He, in ayah 71, he relates a story how Nuh is advising their people to return and to put their trust in Allah, and don't let don't make partners, because they were also idol worshippers and away from the truth. But they denied him. Then Allah talks about in ayah 75 again a little account of Musa, and how he and his brother Harun were sent to Pharaoh with our proofs, the signs, bi ayatina. But they acted arrogantly. فَاسْتَكْبَرُوا وَكَانُوا قَوْمًا مُجْرِمِينَ. They were sinful people. Allah talks about again the discussion of how Pharaoh asked to gather all the people, and then sorcerers he asked to compete with Musa alayhi salam. And then as we know the story, the staff he threw, which engulfed all the other staffs which looked like staff, and then the truth was shown to the world, to the people of the Pharaoh. Allah then talks about how he helped the Bani Israel after many years. Again, Musa alayhi salam's story is mentioned multiple times in the Quran. Actually, Musa alayhi salam is mentioned the most when it comes to prophet in the Quran, because he was very close to time of Prophet as well, and Prophet had to deal with Bani Israel in Medina as well. So many ayat in Makki Quran also refer to Musa alayhi salam before even he knew that he had to deal with Bani Israel in Medina. Just because Allah was preparing Prophet sallallahu, how Musa went through these difficulties as well against tyrant Pharaoh, and then later against even from his own people, because that's what Prophet was going to face, the disbelievers of Makkah and the hypocrites within his own people. So Allah says, we delivered the children, the Bani Israel, the children of Israel, across the sea, and Pharaoh and his troops were pursuing them, but they were drowned. So then again, Allah mentioned this event, and Allah made Pharaoh's body even a sign. Allah says, today we will preserve your body so that you became a sign for those after you. So again, as you know, that the body of the Pharaoh was thrown by the sea on the shore. And Ibn Abbas, when he talks about the tafsir of this ayah, he said, many of the Bani Israel actually doubted that Pharaoh could ever die, because they went through this so much oppression. They almost inside believed that maybe he is God and he cannot die. So Allah gave this sign to the Bani Israel that, look, he's also a human and he's dead now. Then Allah talks about the Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, the surah is named after this prophet. And although the surah is named for Prophet Yunus Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this is the only ayah which is about Yunus Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We'll study more about Yunus Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam later in other surahs. But here Allah says, highlights for Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that if only there was one town that believed and benefited by its belief, except for the people of Jonah, the Yunus. So this is a nation which Allah didn't destroy. Out of the many prophets He mentioned, we went through the discussion of Noah alayhi salam's, Hud, Saleh and his nation, Lut, Shoaib and his nation in Madian area. So here Allah mentioned that Prophet Yunus alayhi salam's people were not destroyed because they believed, and Allah removed them the disgrace of suffering in this world, and He will have the comfort in the hereafter as well for them. So this we'll discuss more about how Prophet Yunus alayhi salam, was preaching, and then he left out of his frustrations with his nation, but they still believed, and this was a lesson given to Prophet Muhammad alayhi as well. Muhammad Sallallahu as well, that yes, prophets are needed, but prophets are just humans. It's Allah who is in full control that how a nation will become believers or not, and how, as many prophets mentioned, they tried their best and still nation didn't believe. So let the belief and disbelief be on the side. You just do your work. Again, that reminder coming to the prophet through Prophet Yunus alayhi salam as well. And he actually mentions this, وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَآمَنَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كُلُّهُمْ جَمِيعًا. Have your Lord willed, everyone on the earth would be believer. So don't compel people. أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. Will you compel people to become believers? So Allah says that's that's not your job. Prophet ﷺ, this was in the late Makki period, this surah coming, and Prophet actually at this time was also at that point of frustration, which Allah sensed, and Allah told Prophet to say these words, "Qul ya ayyuhan nasu in kuntum fi shakkin min dini, fala a'budu allazina ta'buduna min dunillah." Say, O people, if you are in doubt about my religion, I do not serve those you serve apart from Allah. So, this is the point where he started totally disassociating from the people of Quraysh. And as we know later, Surah Al-Kafirun came, where Prophet says, I don't follow what you follow, and you don't follow what I follow. Lakum dinukum waliyadin. To you, your way of religion, and to me, mine. So that will come later. But again, this is the point where Prophet started showing his disassociation totally with the people of Quraysh. And Allah describes that they cannot harm you, because if Allah wouldn't want, nobody can harm, and that's what Allah says in the ayah. And with that we'll finish our discussion today. Allah says, وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُوَ. If Allah afflicts you with harm, none can remove it except He. وَإِنْ يُرِدْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَلَا رَادَّ لِفَضْلِهِ. If He wants good for you, none can repel His grace. يُصِيبُ بِهِ مَن يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ. He makes it reach whomever He wills of His servants. وَهُوَ الْغَفُورُ الرَّحِيمُ. He is the forgiver, the merciful. So, these are ayat to increase our iman and tawakkul in Allah, that things happen in life, difficulties, harms occur, but if Allah has written good for us, these harms will go away, and we should be trusting in Allah and be patient. And that's what the last ayah was, وَاتَّبِعْ مَا يُوحَى إِلَيْكَ وَاصْبِرْ. And follow what is revealed to you and be patient. And that's what we should be doing too. Follow what is revealed in this Quran and be patient, and Allah will take care of the rest. Huwa khairul hakimin. He is the best of judges. So with that, inshallah, we'll finish today's discussion. We'll connect again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.